This was the first round of the World Bagger Championship.
Oh, I didn't watch it. You did.
Go back and watch it. So let me rephrase this.
I shared some things on my Instagram that actually you shared with me. Negative offset triple clamps and a swing arm that looks like it is made out of lattice.
Gorgeous.
It's really pretty.
All right. So it is easy to rag on these Harley Davidson bagger bikes, right? As a MotoGP fanatic or whatever.
I've seen them in real life. You've seen them in real life.
These things are gorgeous.
They really are. If you like billet aluminum, bespoke, artisan, handcrafted.
These are special.
Yeah, it's nothing but. They're really pretty. It's nothing like my dad's Harley. We'll just say that.
They make normally when you look at triple clamps, so how the forks are mounted to the frame basically, you have the steering stem and then there's an offset, meaning the forks are offset forward of the center line of the steering stem. Usually it's like 25 to 35 millimeters, somewhere in that window.
And it's a weird relationship because the more offset, the less trail. The less offset, the more trail. Yes. So it's this really complicated relationship. It's not like rake. It's weird.
So
but typically they're in front of the steering stem.
Yeah. So normally you'd have the steering stem and then
look at your motorcycle at home. Look at the steering stem. Look where the fork tubes are. They're going to be in front. Yep. That's your offset.
Now these Harleys, however, there's the steering stem and then the forks are actually, it looks like the triple clamps put on backward. It's like melted.
By a lot.
By a significant number.
By
20 to 30 mil or more. I'm not even sure.
It's huge.
The forks are set back toward you versus the steering stem, which is a really odd looking triple clamp.
It doesn't look right. Like you said, it looks like they put it together backwards.
But because my guess is the normal frame and stuff with the rake angle of those forks.
Yeah, they have to have so much trail.
They have too much trail.
Yeah.
So they have to pull back a lot of the trail to get these things to handle.
It's just like...
They look goofy.
It's incredible.
But anyway, that I think is really interesting. I also was thinking about this too. I imagine some of the other benefit is, so these
short wheelbase.
Well, shorter wheelbase, but also shifting the weight bias to the front.
It would, right?
Because it pulls the front wheel in, so the weight bias is more forward.
I think the other thing, they're probably solving this, but back in my day when I was a kid, when we were all playing with this, it was not uncommon for fenders and wheels to rub radiators. Right. So if they're running negative offset, sucking that whole front end towards the front jug of the motor, because the forks, they're going to bend under braking. Mm-hmm. Like they got to be like, the tolerances have to be so tight up in there.
Well, fortunately, these things have no radiator because they're air-cooled engines.
But the motor's hanging out the front of it.
The Swingarm in these things, it's nothing like stock.
They're pretty.
Where the shock is mounted is different. Everything about them is different. They're carved from billet works of art. They're gorgeous.
They are so stunning. The craftsmanship. If nothing else, the craftsmanship.
They're a beautiful little piece of kit.
And these things are not putting out like insignificant amounts of power. And so you look at like this delicate little thing and you're like, how is it not just folding in on itself?
They shared some numbers from these. So again, these are air-cooled American pushrod V-twins.
Yeah, but they're close to 2,000 cc's.
How much torque do you think these things put out?
150.
167 foot-pounds of torque.
That's so much torque. That's more than the average car.
167?
Nuts.
What type of chain are you running?
And then you look at the swing arm, this like steel lattice. It looks like a doily made out of aluminum.
Yeah.
Only with fewer little flowers in between the things. And it's going to crank, like it can hold 170 foot-pounds of torque. I don't even know what that is in newtons of torque, or is it
over 200?
Yeah, like it's bonkers.
It's a ton of torque. So anyway, crazy technology on these things. The other thing I thought was fascinating that they showed, so because the way the bike, the weight bias is so far to the rear, so they're still heavy. They're like 650 pounds. Right. They're not a little bike.
And they have to raise them to the moon so they can make him around corners. And then like the dude's my size, like Kyle Wyman is my size. Maybe he's an inch taller. That seat has to be
sky high,
36 inches, and he maybe has a 30-inch inseam, 600-pound motorcycle that, do they have to like hold them up and like roll them off?
Little training wheels. Because there's so much weight on the rear tire, they run a massive rear brake rotor.
Yeah, they look like a car brake rotor. They're gargantuan. They're even
It
like
is-
the double wide, like a car.
It's a full floating rotor. It's a 320.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what's on the front of your bike, Dave?
Probably a
320.
Yeah, only it's half the thickness
Yeah.
because it's out in the wind. Yeah.
So they run a 320 millimeter brake rotor on the rear just because they can use the rear brake so much.
Yeah, because well, that's the thing with cruisers, right? We talk about this in a lot of the videos that I make. You know, like, oh, you know, we rely on the front brake. Can you trail brake with the rear brake? That the answer always depends, because if you're on a little short wheelbase light motorcycle, almost all your braking's going to be on the front.
Mhm.
But if you're on a long, low cruiser, you have a lot more to work with from the rear. That's evidenced. Again, racing shows us everything.
Yeah.
You know, these baggers are using these gargantuan, big, massive rear rotors.
So the bikes are proper little pieces of kit. They are. What's interesting is this World Bagger Series. It's a spec series, so everyone has the exact same bike. There's no custom whatever.
Oh, so we're not bouncing between the Indians and the Harleys this year out
all
there?
just the same spec Harley, which is actually kind of nice. It makes the racing a little closer. They're proper bikes. What was cool to watch and listen to was the speed at which these guys get it from side to side when they flick from through the S's, especially.
Right. I'm always floored by that.
I was on these big bikes, and it looked when they were going through the S's, the curbing, I thought they were going to hit the fairing on the curbing. They're so leaned over, and then the noise that these things make. I love MotoGP. I love sport bikes. There is something about a big, giant, old American
They
V-twin.
do sound cool.
Man, they sound good.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They really need to have the radios going on those baggers, though.
Yeah, that is one. They really,
You know, it's just like, if you've ever ridden a motorcycle in America and you show up like at any national park, you know, they say Rolling Thunder, long before you hear the pipes, you hear everybody listening to whatever rock, you know, Steppenwolf, Grateful Dead. You can hear the tinny noise from their crappy little speakers cranked up to 11 long before they arrive at the parking lot. So why are they not running the speakers out there?
I thought those engines sounded, they really kind of put to shame, like the Moto 3 and the Moto 2 bikes especially.
Oh, yeah.
Just the roar of those
sound good.
engines sound pretty dang
They're
good.
throaty and deep. It's a nice sound.
Yeah. So anyway, as much as it's easy to tease and make fun of this Bagger series, I had a good time. It's a bit of a novelty, so I don't know if the novelty is going to wear off pretty quick, but I had a good time watching the races.